Amos, thank you so much for coming on to Double Tap. You've been joining us over on the show and the podcast, of course, over the past couple of weeks. But great to have you here on YouTube with us. Perhaps you could start by telling us about your product, because many might have heard about Glidance, but I'm keen for you to explain it to us in words that even I might understand.
At Glidance, we're working on an autonomous, self-guided mobility aid for the blind. This is exactly what it says, what I just explained, and then it's basically you can think of it as a robot that guides a blind person or provides them the same experience they would have using a guide dog or a sighted guide. And really, the way it works is that you hold on to Glide's handle. The handle extends at a 45-degree in front of you to the ground, and two wheels on the ground. And the wheels steer. So the wheels, like the front of a car, they steer left and right. Yeah. So when you walk and you walk forward with a device, Glide can use its sensors and AI and cameras and everything to see the path in front of you and make determinations on the safe path to take, and then guide you on that path, guiding you along the path, avoiding obstacles along the way, and take you all the way to your destination.
Okay, so the way I have this in my mind is that it's like you're walking with a white cane, but the white cane is attached to a driverless car. Is that right in my head? Is that what I'm kind of imagining?
In terms of an image in your mind's eye, you can look at that way, or some people ask me if it's a vacuum cleaner, and that's just because it's still hasn't gone through its final iterations of design, so it's a bit bulkier at the bottom. But that's also an image to have. So you hold on to that handle, and you have those two wheels on the ground. I would not really compare it to a cane, because you don't hold it like a cane, and you don't tap it like a cane, you don't move it around like a cane, you don't use it like a cane. If anything, the experience is more akin to that of working a dog.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get in my head here how this actually works. So how am I navigating with this? I mean, let's say, for example, I want to go from my house to the local store and then come back home again. Do I program it with an app? Do I talk to it? How do I tell it where I want to go?
Yeah. So first, Stephen, we think of Glide as a primary mobility aid, and I think that's a distinction I want to make with some of the secondary technologies that we use in addition to a cane or a guide dog. Here we're talking about a primary mobility aid that is, first, it gives you the benefits of, in many ways, the benefits of what you would have if you were to use a guide dog without some of the challenges that a guide dog brings to life. The second is really how easy it is to use, and we'll come back to that. And the third is really how affordable it is, and in a way that we do believe that most people will be able to get one once we get to market. So we'll talk about all of those points, but to answer your question, really, there are multiple ways you can do it. But if you know your way, and this is a route that you regularly do, then you would walk with Glide. You can actually steer Glide. You can twist the handle left and right. Okay? But Glide resists the turns or takes over when it needs to in order to keep you safe. So if, let's say, you're walking, if you know that you need to take a right at the next turn, but you haven't gotten there yet, and there's still a wall there, then you can twist the handle to the right, but Glide will only take that turn when it clears up and keep you safe on that turn. So you can see that sort of fundamental, what we call safe wayfinding, that's obstacle avoidance and keeping to a nice straight path, and at the foundation, gives you the ability to quickly go to the shop. It does all the work for you instead of you having to tap your cane. It figures out everything for you on the way, but you are driving in this scenario, right? The other scenario is where you give it the destination and Glide helps you get there. And for that, we are looking at multiple alternatives here. The one can be that it's a route that you regularly do. Maybe you were trained on that route, or maybe it's a route that when you moved to your new house, you decided that that's an important route for you, and you trained Glide on that route, and Glide always takes you on that route. And you can see that that would be valuable for people, especially in their early stages of their mobility journey, where they're not confident, but they really just need that on rails experience to get to the bus stop so that they can get to the doctor or get to work, and so forth. And then beyond that, we are also looking at integration with maps. So maps, if it's Google Maps, if it's Lazarillo, if it's Soundscape, if it's other navigation technologies, I don't really think that we should be building a navigation app for Glide. I think that Glide is a mobility aid. It's an accessory. And the great potential here is that it can be integrated to other to the apps that you prefer. If you use, I don't know what you use for your public transportation, if you use Move It, then it should work with Move It. So that's our direction of travel. It'll take us time to get there. And I'll just add maybe one more additional point, because I probably should have said it in the beginning. Glide has a great camera, and it has a very good ability to analyze this and understand the space in front of it. So even if you are driving, Glide can still tell you, I can see a door. So let's say you're getting out of an Uber and you need to get to that door. Glide can say that in its field of view, it can see a door, is that where you're headed? And then you can say, yes, that's where I'm going, and Glide can take you there. And that we are looking at different ways of that interaction happening, but the key is that Glide can take you to line of sight targets, which we believe to be a very important feature, but we're also working with folks to get feedback on that.
And what is that feedback from the device itself? Are we talking haptic? Are we talking audio? How am I hearing where the door is? I'm trying to imagine this. How am I hearing what's around me, essentially?
So you don't need to know where the door is, because Glide will take you there. Okay, so it would say door 20 meters. Yeah, and you kind of know which way you're facing with Glide, but you don't need to know exactly where it is. Now, we may have that conversation of, Glide could actually give you a lot more information, and I think that's part of the iterative product design that we're going through right now. But fundamentally, you need to just confirm to Glide that you're heading to that door. And it will do the rest. It will go around the planters and find the little path that takes you to that door. Yeah, you don't have to do all the work to figure that out.
Look, I mean, I think as a long cane user, and I have been one for many, many years, I think about that experience of, like you say, the last 10 yards problem, which is often the big issue with a lot of those devices that come out. Navigation is one thing, but finding the door to a building, finding the door to a car, whatever it might be. But exactly. It's interesting, and you say that it'll tell me where the door is, and I don't have to worry about it. But of course, the truth is, how do I know it's the right door? I could get out, and there could be two stores beside each other. How do I know I'm going into the right door? So this is what I wonder about the feedback I'm getting. What kind of information am I getting to know I'm going to the right place, especially if I've never been there before?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you can think about it in shopping malls as well, and in other settings. And that's where I think, what we have with Glide, and I want to, predicate all of that with a lot of these conversations are still open, and we are taking a lot of input from people. We're very much working on the foundations of the device right now, and are looking at the more integrated capabilities through dialogue with the community right now. So there's definitely work to figure all of those details out. The benefit here is that Glide can draw on data as well as its understanding of the space. Yeah, and the closer we can combine data, so map data, information, right, with the AI and scene understanding that we now have these tremendous technologies that come out of the GPT world and so on, with the user's preferences and choices. If what we're looking for is really to create an interaction, an interface that enables you to really have that, because it's not always the door. Sometimes it's a lot. It's a lot. More subtle nuance. Do I want to go a bit to the left here, or do I want to take the fork over? There's a lot of subtleties to walking around, right? And how can the device communicate with you in such a way, like simple things like, it's getting narrow, so let's go single file here. Yeah, we have haptics on the handle that can indicate that to you very quickly. Slow down, you're about to stop. Careful, there's a big thing on your right. Like you can start from there and then really build up to that more surrounding based information. So these are all sort of ways that we're looking to develop, the directions that we're looking to develop the device into. I just want to add one additional point here, Stephen, if I may, which is a key goal in the whole project, really. I mean, why is there a need for a device like this, right? Is that there's still a lot of people with sight loss who don't have the ability and the confidence to get out of their homes independently. We can argue about the numbers, but what we know is that those numbers are in the 80 to 90% of the community, even higher. Just the figures in the US, there are 7.3 million people with significant or total sight loss in the US, and of them, 10,000 people use a guide dog. It's out of proportion, right? And 120,000 or so use a cane. And so the reason I bring that up is because we also have to, and what we spend a lot of time thinking about is a mobility aid that enables people who have much less confidence and who are not, it's not necessarily the people who fly down the road on their own and go to a store by themselves in the shopping mall just yet. Let's get them to walk around the block first. Let's get them to get to the nearby store first, to their a bus stop so that they can get to work. Let's help them on the 5 key routes that they do at their work location. That's really where our initial focus is, so that we can really build from the ground up a device that is accessible to, and in many ways provides another option for people who today don't have the ability to get around without a sighted assistant. I do think that technology has a key role to play. What are your thoughts?
I do. It's interesting because, I've talked on my show recently about this. I actually did an episode entitled Enough with the Robot Guide Dogs. And I said that because I feel there are so many products that come out. And of course, there are exceptions. And I think yours is probably one of them. But there are so many of these products that come out, often by well-meaning people who are sighted, who don't often engage with the blindness community and actually ask our opinions on any of this stuff. Then they sell it for a huge price and they expect us to buy it. And if we don't buy it, they get a bit annoyed with us. And I feel that's becoming a bit of a problem, if I'm honest. It's not unique to the robot guide dog world, of course. It's actually kind of a common thread around a number of products that come out in the blind community. Like I say, well-meaning people, but they don't engage. Now, you're not doing that. You are engaging. You're being upfront about all of this, which is absolutely fantastic. And that is definitely the key. I want to ask you, though, about the genesis of this, because, AI feels like it's been around for like 5 minutes in the whole GPT-like form. Of course, AI has been around much longer than that. And that's, I guess, why I wanted to ask you, why this product must have or has come around. The idea for the project, I mean, where did it start? When did you start working on this? Because I'm guessing this wasn't last year when OpenAI showed off ChatGPT.
No, not at all. No, and yeah, no, for sure. I just for your listeners, I just want to be clear that I am blind. I have retinitis pigmentosa. I lost most of my sight in my 20s while I was doing my computer science degree and getting into the tech career. So at least I bring some personal first-hand experience into what I'm doing and into what we're doing.
And that is exactly why I say you're the exception to this, Amos, because, first off, you're blind. So you know what you're dealing with here, and you know this from personal experience, but you're also engaging with the community because there are also many blind people who have come along with ideas and, again, don't engage because they think they know it all, and that's not right either. You're not doing that. Which is great. But I want to be very clear with you because that's not what my view of what you're doing here is at all. Not at all.
Well, thank you for saying that. I try to build that into the fabric of the company as well. Always be humble and always assume you don't know until somebody, and even if I have a pretty strong view on something, we have to go and validate it with other people as well.
Amos, talk to me about CES, because you were at CES earlier in the year and Glidance got a lot of attention, rightly so. Tell us about that first, and then perhaps talk to us about Stevie Wonder if you can, because of course that was the big one that made a lot of us smile when Stevie Wonder came along, and I bet you were kind of surprised as well.
We were completely blown away by that moment, yeah. You know what? First of all, we went to CES courtesy of an award that we received from the CTA Foundation. The CTA Foundation is an organization that's part of the CTA is a Consumer Technology Association, and they are the organizers of CES, and the foundation really looks to ensure that the consumer technology industry is cognizant of people with disabilities, people who are aging, the special needs around that. That they do incredible work. We got to know a lot more of that work while we were at the conference and met lots of people from the CTA Foundation. So that's how, and they basically awarded us, presented us with an award, which included a booth at CES and a place to demonstrate our work. So that was a very important aspect of this, and we brought prototype 3 of Glide to CES. This is our first prototype that is more rugged. It's no longer just a 3D printed prototype. It starts to behave and look and feel like the product itself. And we've got the core autonomy capabilities built into the device that we were able to demonstrate. And what can I say, Stephen? Our booth was busy from morning till night with people who were just so curious to learn and so, I guess, inspired by the possibilities that this kind of device can bring to people. We had and we ran demos. We commandeered a corridor somewhere, somewhat against the rules, but it was fine. Nobody complained, and walked back and forth and showed people how they would use Glide. And one of the things, Stephen, that I mentioned earlier, how easy it is to use. I mean, you just grab the handle and you walk, and you immediately start to get the experience of that freedom. And we had a deaf blind person, I'm not going to say his name because he hasn't given me permissions to, but we didn't expect him to show up. He showed up. He tried the device and he signed, while he was walking with it, he signed to his interpreter, finally. Which was a real moment for the team. And then we were doing a couple of other demos, and all of a sudden my wife says, Stevie Wonder is coming. And his entourage appears along the corridor, and we had this real surreal moment of Kyle Buzzard, who's our mechanical engineer, industrial designer, was running the demos. He introduced the device to Stevie, and it was one of those moments that you never expect. I don't know how to describe it. Everybody was at awe. There was a funny moment. You know what's the funniest thing with Glide? People, you walk with it in the demos, and people jump in front of it to see how it will react. So somebody did that to Stevie, and they were quickly whisked away by his security team. Yeah, you shouldn't do that with Stevie. Anyway, and then we had a nice conversation with him, and he gave a lot of great feedback about how important this kind of device is, and you know that he's a great ambassador for the community. He also brought some important questions around safety. Not only safety in terms of not falling or bumping into things, but safety in rough neighborhoods. Like walking as a blind person in a rough neighborhood can, presents its own challenges. And how can a device like this help in those situations? So it was a very, very special moment.
Amos Miller, thank you so much for coming on to a Double Tap on YouTube today.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate the opportunity, and we'll keep in touch.